Okay, happy Sabbath, everybody. We are not live on YouTube, but we are on Zoom, and we're recording on Zoom, and the audio may be not as good. I need to work on that, and I'll try to get it better. This will be uploaded later. All right, today is February 4, 2023, and we are doing Hebrews 11. Okay, we're still in the part of Abraham and Sarah. And when you look at the patriarchs that are mentioned in Hebrews 11, the one that uses the most verses, that Paul uses the most verses to show who has faith is Abraham, right? And then after that, Moses. And everybody else is just one line on one verse. But Abraham and Sarah is the one that he uses. He uses so many verses just to describe the life of Abraham. So, that's why we're still going to continue doing about Abraham and Sarah here. Okay, but specifically not only Abraham and Sarah, but also Ishmael and who's the son? Isaac, right? Isaac, Ishmael and Isaac. Okay, all right. Let me go to the slide that I need to be on. Okay, we'll start here. Abraham was told that he needs to go to a land that is going to be promised for him when he will become a great nation. Right? So he decided to go, and he didn't even know where he was going. Right? Eventually, all these things are revealed to him. And eventually, when he realized what was actually promised to him is heavenly Canaan. Right? Yeah. That's a better promise than earthly Canaan. So he considered himself, after he got to Canaan, that he was still a stranger and a pilgrim, right? He always considered himself a stranger and a pilgrim. So we were here in Hebrews 11 still, and this talking about Abraham and his descendants. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But Abraham could have just returned where? Yeah, just returned to Ur of the Chaldees, which returned to Babylon. But now they desire a better country. That is an heavenly. It's a heavenly country. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. He prepared them a city, New Jerusalem, right? And the foundations is built by God. Right? It is not a earthly country. It's not an earthly city, right? Of the posterity of Abraham, it is written, these all died in faith. So Ellen White has was quoting verse 13 here, and how it applies to us. We must dwell as pilgrims and strangers here, if we would gain a better country that is an heavenly. Those who are children of Abraham will be seeking the city which he looked for, whose builder and maker is God. So we have to consider, this place that we are living in right now, right, is only temporary. We have to consider ourselves always a pilgrim and a stranger, looking to go to heaven, to New Jerusalem, back to we need to go to Eden, where it's going to be promised, right? Promised to us. All right. First Peter 2 verse 11. Dearly beloved, I beseech you, as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lust. Yeah. To be able to inherit the promise, you have to abstain from fleshly lust, right? So we were studying about this, right? To have Jesus in you, you have to abstain from fleshly lust, so that only those who are meek and lowly and will inherit the kingdom of God. Right? First Chronicles 29 verse 15. For we are strangers before thee and sojourners. So sojourners are those who just, they're just pilgrims, right? They just stay in a country that is not theirs. As were all our fathers in our days on the earth, as a shadow, and there is none abiding. Because that is a shadow. What we are looking for is the real city, the city of God, right? And the country we're looking for is actually spiritual Canaan, right? And we are just sojourning. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine. For ye are strangers and sojourners with me, right? You are going to go to Canaan, but that land is not even yours. You are always going to be strangers and sojourners, even in that land, right? Because that land actually right now, this earth belongs to who? Who has dominion of this earth? Satan has dominion of this earth. So do we want this earth? Yeah, but not under Satan's conditions. You know, we want it back when the seed will inherit this earth, right? And this is the covenant basically being repeated to Abram, right? It was still Abram, and the Lord appeared unto Abram. His name hasn't been changed yet. His name hasn't been changed to Abraham, right? And said, unto thy seed will I give this land, and there builded he an altar unto the Lord, he who appeared unto him. Unto thy seed, right? Who is thy seed? This is not the seeds of Abraham. This is not his actual descendants. This is not the Israelites. And to thy seed will I give this land. Unto who? It is actually Jesus, right? Galatians 3 verse 16. Unto thy seed, it means one seed, right? So unto Jesus, this land is going to be returned, because Jesus is going to claim this land back from Satan, right? And give it to us, right? And thou, O tower of the flock, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, unto thee shall it come, even the first dominion. Because that dominion that was first given by Jesus, who created Adam and Eve, he gave that dominion of the earth and of all the beasts of the earth. The dominion was given to Adam. And when Adam fell into sin, Satan received the dominion. That's why he could say to Jesus, you know, you worship me, and I'll give you this. Everything that you see, I will give to you if you just worship me, right? So Jesus has to defeat Satan to receive back that dominion. That land that was promised through Abraham was actually for Jesus. It is this earth that is promised in that eternal covenant, right? Okay. All right. So I said, let me study. Let's study. I'm going to do this. You know, let's study the sojourn and pilgrimage of Abraham in the land of Canaan, right? And we might learn something from this, because obviously there's nothing that is unimportant in the Bible. You know, all these stories are written about the sojourns of the wanderings of Abraham in Canaan, right? For us to study, right? Okay, let's do this. All right. This is the you can get this for this map. You can download it, and it shows all the places that Abraham was associated with in the land of Canaan. Right? So first thing was that we know about Abraham was that he lived in where? I have the name in there. Ur of Chaldees. He lived in where? Babylon, right? And God called him out, right? Go to a land. And where was the first place that he went to? Coming out of Ur of Chaldees. Where did he go to? He went to Haran, right? He went to, where is Haran? Haran is actually here in Syria, right? Yeah. And remember, he had a servant. His servant's name was Eliezer. Where is Eliezer from? Damascus. He's from Syria, right? Yeah. He was. So Eliezer is from Damascus. He said, "Wait a minute, I don't have a son. All I have is a servant, and his name is Eliezer from Damascus. Is he going to be my? Is he going to be my inheritance? Can a slave be the inheritance? No. Son, yeah, and son. You can. The slave cannot be your inheritance. It's through it's your inheritance cannot come from a slave. It has to be a son, a real son. Okay, so he went to Haran, and when he left Haran and went to Canaan, how old was he? You remember? 75, right? He was 75 years old. And how old was Sarah? 65. All right. Okay. And we'll go through this. All right. You can see it in Genesis 12, right? Genesis 12. Where was the first place that he went to? In Canaan. I wrote that in Shechem, right? So he came down here. I think he should have passed on this side of the Jordan River. Just my thing. He probably came on this side, right? Came down and went to Shechem. All right. Okay, it says, wow, this Shechem is a nice place. But there's a problem with Shechem. What's wrong with Shechem? Oh no, that's not a drought. What's the first thing that he found? Yeah. The people were worshiping the sun, moon, and stars. Baal, Ashtoreth, and Tammuz. They were worshiping, and they actually had human sacrifice. Right? Yeah, wait a minute. I come to Canaan. This is the promised land, and what I find here? Idolatry. So he built an altar there, right? And then he moved, right? From there he moved. Okay. So remember, he found idolatry in Canaan. So then he moved. Where did he move? Yeah, he moved to Bethel. Bethel is right here, between Bethel and Hai. Okay, in Bethel and Hai. And what did he find in Bethel and Hai? Famine. All right. Then he found famine. Okay, all right. Oops. All right, I just gave away. Right. So idolatry, and then he found in Bethel he found famine. All right. Okay. Because of the famine, where did he go? Then he entered Egypt, just like Jacob and his sons, right? There was a famine, so they went to Egypt. So he also went to Egypt. Okay. All right. That's in. All right. Okay. What happened to him in Egypt? Yeah. Now the Pharaoh, he said, okay, when we go to Egypt, everywhere we go, make sure you do not tell them that you are my wife. Instead, tell them that you are my sister, because what's going to happen? They're going to kill me, and they want to marry you because you are. He actually said, you are very pretty. Yeah, you are very fair, and the man is going to kill me and want to marry you. So Pharaoh saw Sarah and said, and Abraham said, this is my sister. So the Sarah was taken by Egypt, the Egyptian Pharaoh. And what happened to them? What happened when Sarah was taken by Pharaoh? They received the plagues. Okay, all right. They received plagues. All right. Now, you know where I'm going there? You can see this is the experience of us in the end time. Because we have to be sojourners also. Right? They have famine, they have plagues. All right. Okay. And because of that, then it says, okay, in that case, take back Sarah. And then here, take all kinds of manservants and maidservants and treasures, animals, go back, right? Go. Maidservant. So who's the maidservant that came out of Egypt? Hagar. So Hagar, you know, Eliezer came from here, Hagar came from here. Okay, and Hagar became the handmaid for Sarah. Right? So where did they go? They went back. They went back to, all right, I have to erase those lines because it's going to be full of lines here otherwise. So they went back to Bethel, right? They went back to Bethel, and Lot also went down to Egypt. Lot went back. And then there's so much of their cattle and herds that they were fighting, right? So Lot chose where? It's the plain of Shittim. That's the vale of Siddim. Actually, Bethel is here. Sodom is thought to be here somewhere, across on this side. And where did Abraham decide to settle in? In the hills, and it's in the hills of Mamre here. Mamre is near Hebron, right? Mamre is it's owned by the Amorites. So the Amorites knew about Abraham because they were nice to Abraham. They let him stay in this area, Amorites. Okay, all right. And then what happened when when's the next thing? You see it in Genesis 14. What did he find after he settled in Hebron in the plains of what did he find? There is a war. There's a war between all the nations there. Oh, the sound is lost? Oh, the sound is lost. Oh, wow. The sound is lost. Okay. All right. All right. Oh, wow. We're having problems here. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. He says that the sound is lost. Is it just low or is it completely lost? Yeah, he's there. Yeah. I have to continue. I can't fix this right at this moment. Okay. All right. Anyway, he went. What did he find? That the kings were fighting, right? All the kings were fighting. And what happened to Lot when the kings were fighting? Lot was taken, right? So he had to go and fight against those kings, right? And he chased those kings all the way to, there was a big fight. There's a sword, right? There's rumors of war and nation rise against nations, right? And he had to chase them all the way to Dan, all the way up to Dan right here, right? They had chased them all the way to Dan, right? And then he defeated them in Dan, okay? And he got all the riches, right? And then where did he go afterwards? Where did he go afterwards? With the riches, with the loot of the war. he went to Salem. And who, okay, he went to Salem, and who did he meet in Salem? Melchizedek, right? And Melchizedek was the high priest, right? High priest. It was a king and a high priest. So I have a picture. He's the high priest. He's the type of Jesus, right? He's the high priest. And he paid tithes to Melchizedek. So he went to Salem there, right? And after that, he went back to, and then he went back to Hebron, all right? And in Hebron, then you go to Genesis 15. God said, your posterity will inherit this land. And he says, what posterity? I have no posterity. Okay. I have no posterity. And then God said, make a sacrifice. And with that sacrifice, the covenant was made. And to show that his posterity will have to suffer in Egypt, or before they can go back and inherit back the land, right? Because he had to suffer in Egypt before he can go back to Canaan. You know what? His posterity also have to suffer and treated in Egypt before they can get Canaan, all right? So then he said, okay, you will have a son, but you have to wait for your son. How many years did they have to wait? Actually, 10 years. He had to wait 10 years. And Sarah became restless. Wait a minute, I don't have a son. We don't have a posterity. Why don't you take Hagar, right? And then, right, that's when Ishmael was born, right? And Ishmael in Genesis 16, Ishmael will be like a what? Like a wild ass, right? His symbol is like a wild ass of Arabia, right? Like a horse, right? And when you see in the Genesis also, right, the descendants of Ishmael is also symbolized as what? As locust also, right? That comes from the east, right? So you have the plagues, you have a sword, you have famine, you have pestilence, right? Okay. Then there has to be a sign of the covenant. Now, what was the sign of the covenant for the covenant that was given to Abraham and Sarah? Their name had to be changed. There's a change in name, and also what happens? There has to be a circumcision, because the circumcision is a sign of the covenant. So I don't have a picture of a circumcision. I have a picture of a baby. They have to be circumcised at, yes, right, 8 days old. But how old was Ishmael when he was circumcised? 13. That's why all the Muslim boys are circumcised at 13, right? Even now, all right? Okay. And then comes the 3 angels and visited them. Yeah. And said to Sarah, right? Said to Sarah, well, you are going to have a son. And Sarah, what was Sarah's reaction? She laughed, right? She laughed. And then the angels went to Sodom and Gomorrah. And when you read that carefully, and you read it in Patriarchs and Prophets, how many angels went down to Sodom and Gomorrah? 2 angels, right? Was Jesus one of those angels? It is actually Jesus. One of those angels was actually Jesus. You read Patriarchs and Prophets very carefully, And one of those angels was actually Jesus. Because the one that was bargaining, let's see, if there's 50, will you still destroy? Then goes down to 45, then 40. Yeah, that was Jesus that was bargaining with Abraham. And then Lot also said, well, you know what? I cannot run to the mountains. Why don't I just run to a small city called Zoar? Lot was also bargaining, right? And in Patriarch and Prophet, it says Lot was bargaining with the same angel that was bargaining with Abraham. So it was Jesus that actually went down to, one of those angels was actually Jesus, right? This is Sodom and Gomorrah. And Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed by fire and brimstone, right? Fire came down from heaven and destroyed the cities. Wow. This is all a prophecy of what's going to happen in the end time, right? Okay. And then after that, this is the story that a lot of people don't realize. They actually had to go to the country of the Philistines. Gerar is right here. I'm not sure where Gerar. They had to go. Oh, I didn't make the sign here. Gerar is here. They actually had to go to Gerar. Gerar is in the land of the Philistines, right? That's in Genesis 20. Genesis 20. And over now, remember, Sarah is almost 90 years old. And when they went to the Philistines, the king was Abimelech. And Abimelech saw Sarah and says, wow, I want her. Now she's a 90-year-old woman. What does that mean? She is very pretty at 90 years old. Right. Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, took Sarah. And Sarah was 90 years old. Right? Yeah. And she's beautiful. Right? And then what happened to the Lord went to Abimelech and says, look at all your women. All your women become barren. None of your women can have any children because of Sarah. Because Sarah is barren. Now all your women are barren. You return Sarah to Abraham. And when Sarah was returned to Abraham, all the Philistine women womb were opened. Wow. What does that mean? What's the significance of that? Right? Yeah. And then after that, they went back. From Gerar, they went back. And then Sarah had Isaac. Right? Sarah had Isaac. Right? When they went back, Sarah had Isaac. You know, all the women, these are the heathen women, then they had children. They were able to have children. And then Sarah also had a child in her old age, right? And obviously it's Isaac, right? And at 5 years old, when Isaac was weaned, what happened to Isaac? They had a party, and what did Ishmael do to Isaac? There's a mocking, right? Ishmael mocked Isaac. And because of that, what happened to Hagar and Ishmael was sent away. They had to be separated, you know. You know that, do you see this? This is actually, you know, there's going to be a time when there's going to be nation will rise against nation, famine, pestilence, and the powers of the earth will be shaken, right? Yeah. The leaders of the countries will be shaken, right? And you know, this is when you actually have to follow Jesus wherever he is. He's the high priest in heaven. You have to have the faith that he is able to fulfill his covenant with you, right? And then he is going to be able to conform your character, your flesh, so that you can overcome your flesh, right? Your flesh. So that one day when your fleshly character can be thrown away and you can receive the white robe of righteousness, you can have Christ in you, right? Christ in you, the hope of glory, right? Your Christ in you, you will have the character of Christ, because, right, that is when the time just before the mocking is going to happen. When is the mocking? When you are actually, the mocking actually comes when there's a close of probation for the wicked, right? Those who do not believe in the coming of Christ. You do not have Christ in them, they will mock those who have Christ in them, right? So we can see that this timeline of sojourning in Canaan also is why it is called our our experience in the end time. Okay, all right. Okay. Now for us in the sanctuary, where is there a feast to commemorate the sojourning of the Israelites? Of all the feasts, which feast? Here your Passover. Here's the Feast of Unleavened Bread, wave sheep. Which feast commemorates the Passover? I mean, here's the Pentecost, right? Feast of Trumpets, and then Day of Atonement, and when was that? The Feast of Tabernacle, right? Feast of Tabernacle is from the 15th to the 22nd of the 7th month, right? And what does that commemorate? Right. Also in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days, right? Ye shall dwell in booths 7 days. All that are Israelite born shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel to dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt, right? It's like you are sojourning, right? You are sojourning. You have to commemorate that you have been sojourning in the wilderness when you came out of the land of Egypt. Like the Passover, the Feast of Tabernacles was commemorated. In memory of their pilgrim life in the wilderness, the people were now to leave their houses and dwell in booths or arbors, formed from the green branches of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, and boughs of thick trees, and willows of the brook. Right? So this is to commemorate them being, and so we can see that this is still, for us, it's like still in the future, right? It's still in the future. Okay, when is this going to be? So I always thought that it is going to be around when we are going to have to run to the caves, seems like, right? Okay, let's see what Ellen White says in Patriarchs and Prophets. The Feast of Tabernacles was not only commemorative, but typical. It's a type of what's going to happen in the future. It's a type, right? It not only commemorates them coming out of Egypt, but it's going to be a type of what's going to happen to us. It not only pointed back to the wilderness sojourn, but as the Feast of the Harvest, it celebrated the ingathering of the fruits of the earth and pointed forward to the great day of final ingathering. When is that? When is the great day of final ingathering? When the Lord of the harvest shall send forth his reapers to gather the tares together in bundles for the fire and gather the wheat into his garner. At that time, the wicked will all be destroyed. When will all the wicked be destroyed? Yeah, that's the third coming. All the wicked will be destroyed. they will become as though they had not been, right? In Obadiah 16. So this is in the lake of fire. So the Feast of Tabernacles actually points all the way, when all the tares will be burned, right? That's the final ingathering, right? Final again, right? All the righteous will be in Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, and all the wicked will be in the lake of fire. And every voice in the whole universe will unite in joyful praise to God, says the Revelator. Every creature which is in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and such are in the sea, and all that are in them, heard I saying. See? Every creature that had been dead in the sea, in the earth, all will be, they actually be raised up so they can hear. Blessing and honor and glory and power be unto him that sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb forever and ever. Yeah, the millennium, that's 1,000 years. Oh, yeah. Third coming. Yeah, it's difficult to say. Yeah. But so it's actually the Feast of Ingathering is still way in the future. It's still in the future. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Right. The feast was not only the harvest Thanksgiving, but the memorial of God's protecting care over Israel in the wilderness. In commemoration of their tent life, right? It's a tent life. So I was reading, it's a tent life. The Israelites during the feast dwelt in booths of tabernacles of green boughs. Right? Yeah. The thing about it is, when we're in heaven, will that be our final place? Right. So when you go to heaven, you're actually sojourning, because where is your final place where you are going to inherit? Back in earth, right? So come to think of it, right? Vacation for 1,000 years in heaven, right? Yeah. So this is Obadiah 1 verse 15 to 18. Right? This is what Ellen White was actually referring to when the Feast of Tabernacle is. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen, right? As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall as though they had not been, right? But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness. And the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble. So the Esau will be burned, right? By the house of Jacob and the house of Joseph, right? So that's the 144,000, because the descendants of Jacob and the descendants of Joseph as well, right? Because it includes Manasseh, right? 144,000. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. So this has to be at the end, right? This has to be at the end, and the lake of fire, where they will be burned, right? And upon Mount Zion, right, shall be delivered, because the city is going to come down into actually the Mount of Olives, right, which is right near the Mount of Zion in Jerusalem. Okay, all right. The people of Israel praise God at the Feast of Tabernacles, as they call to mind His mercy in their deliverance from the bondage of Egypt, and His tender care for them during the pilgrim life in the wilderness. They rejoice also in the consciousness of pardon and acceptance through the service of the Day of Atonement just ended. But when the ransom of the Lord shall have been safely gathered into the heavenly kingdom, forever delivered from the bondage of curse, under which the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain, together until now, they will rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory. Christ's great work of atonement for men will then have been completed, and their sins will have been forever blotted out. Right? The clue is right there. They rejoice also in the consciousness of pardon and acceptance through the service of the Day of Atonement just ended. Right? The Day of Atonement is actually when all the people's sins are being reviewed, right? And all have to suffer their consequence. Right? For the righteous, all the records have been reviewed, right? And when all the righteous have been atoned for, then the judgment closes, right? And then Jesus can come. Because when is the wicked's records be reconciled? When they are being judged. When is the wicked being judged? During 1,000 years. So the Day of Atonement does not end until Jesus comes again, right? And this is the Day of Atonement ends, and then after the Day of Atonement is the Feast of Tabernacles, right? All right. Okay. So you know what? Actually, this is where we end the part of the sojourning. Okay. Because the next part is, by faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac. And he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son, of whom it is was said, that in Isaac shall thy seed be called, accounting that God was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. So by faith. So the thing about it is, when you look at the story of the sojourning of Abraham and Sarah, right? Was their faith already, did they have already sufficient faith? When they went through Egypt, did Abraham show that he had, sufficient faith? No. He says, well, why don't you just lie? Yeah, because I don't want to be killed here. Just tell them that you're my wife, right? You're my sister, right? And then Sarah says, wait a minute, I've been waiting for 10 years now. You're supposed to have this covenant. And where is my posterity? Where's our inheritance? Why don't you instead, wasn't the covenant was supposed to go through Abraham? It was not promised through me. That's what she was thinking, right? Yeah. Why don't you have a son with Hagar? But because Hagar is a what? Is a servant. Can the promised son come from a servant? It cannot come from a servant. It has to come from a free woman, right? Yeah, it can. So she had to rationalize all these things by herself. She did not have enough faith, right? And then all these things are a trial, right? Presumption, right? all these things are trials for them. They have to go through all these trials. They have even had to go to the Philistines, right? And even the Philistines, their wombs were closed because of Hagar. And then it was open because of Sarah, right? Because of Sarah, right? So all these things we see that eventually, some of the people who are not who is in another flock, right, will be gathered as well, right? People who will come in and become like what we call the Nethinims, right? Yeah. We come gathered again, who are the Gentiles, will come in and become join with 144,000. Yeah, there's still a chance. But anyway, right, it's absolutely, that's true. But then the trial, the biggest trial that had to come was this trial, right? When he was called to sacrifice Isaac. He had to go through all of that before he had to come to the big trial. Because, the faith has to be tried. You cannot suddenly face the fiery furnace that is heated 7 times without you going through small trials to begin with, right? You cannot suddenly come to the lion's den and suddenly say, okay, you know what? I can go through the lion's den. Yeah. You have to be able to, to pass through the fiery furnace of Daniel 3. You have to pass the trials of Daniel 1. What's the Daniel 1? Daniel 1 is you have to pass your small trial of appetite. How do you go pass through the fiery furnace if you can't even pass your appetite? That's why Jesus was tried first. Turn this stones into bread, right? And then at the end, I will give you, all this kingdom if you just worship me, right? But first, you have to go through small trials until you get to the big trial. So even Abraham and Sarah, they had to go through the small trials, then eventually come to the big trial here at when Isaac was supposed to be sacrificed. Right? And then when you see this, the promises offered up his only begotten son. When you see begotten son, it's called monogenes, right? Monogenes son. All right. I think we'll leave that for next time, because this will be another line, right? Another story about the monogenes son, right? Because who is also the other monogenes son? Jesus also is a monogenes son, right? Right. Jesus is the monogenes son, the only begotten son. That's we already memorized that, John 3 verse 16. Right? Okay. All right. So to summarize, we are all going to be sojourners and pilgrims on this earth, and we have to behave like it, right? We have to behave like it. Yeah, we have to behave as if we are waiting to go to a city whose foundation is built by God in a better country, right? And because Abraham, throughout his life, did he ever live in a house? He never lived in a house. He always lived in a tent. Even his children and his, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they always lived in tents. Because, right. And this is this is why it's a lesson for us, right? That story, when you read that, it's actually about the end time, when we are all waiting to go to heaven. All right. All right. Okay. Mhm. Right, right. Feast of Tabernacle. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to sojourn all the way, all over the place. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. I think you're still sojourning. Oh, still, yeah. We are still sojourning because we are waiting for to go back to a better country and then to a better city whose foundation is. Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Gaza Strip, yeah. Right, right. Mhm. Gaza Strip. Yeah, yeah. Mhm. 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 Yeah. So, you know, all these things were written for a reason. You know, when you dig deep enough, you realize it's actually what our experience is going to be in the end time. Because Jesus already said there's going to be false false teachers, right? Matthew 24 starts with there's going to be false teachers, you know, that says that he's Christ and wants you to worship him, right? And he's going to even make fire come down from heaven and change the Sabbath to Sunday, right? That's like going to Canaan and finding the worshippers of Baal, right? And there's going to be wars, and there's going to be famine, there's going to be pestilence, and you will be entreated, you're going to be mocked, right? You're going to be persecuted. And all these things going to happen before the end time. Right? All these things, this is, you look at this is essentially Matthew 24, yeah? The sojourning of Abraham, right? But the other thing is that there's going to be fire that's going to come down and destroy cities. Mm-hmm. That's Revelation 18. All right. Okay. All right. And that is a more sure word of prophecy. Let me finish this. Oh, okay. Yeah, boy, I'm telling you, this is. All right.